Last month, I ordered a shirt online for just $5. When it arrived, the stitching was already loose, and after only one wash, it shrank and warped out of shape. I didn't think much of it at first. It was only $5 after all, but later I learned that cheap clothing like this comes at a hidden cost. Enormous amounts of wasted water, toxic dyes polluting rivers, and workers paid pennies in unsafe conditions. That a $5 shirt wasn't really cheap. Someone, somewhere, paid the true price. Fast fashion is not a consumer choice, it's a global crisis. According to the Eye London on April 8th of 2020, the fashion industry was responsible for 10% of global pollution, producing around 90 million tons of waste annually and consuming 1.5 trillion liters of water. These aren't just abstract figures, they're signs that the way we shop is draining our planet and harming millions of people. Today, I will plead the case against fast fashion, why it harms people, the planet, and even consumers themselves, and how change is both necessary and possible. First, I will explain the problems created by fast fashion. Next, I will explore the causes and that allow these problems to exist in the first place. And finally, I will present solutions that are being tested worldwide that shows there's a different path forward. To understand the urgency, let's look at the problems that fast fashion creates. These problems fall under three main categories: environmental destruction of overproduction, the human cost and unsafe labor, and the mountain of waste filling landfills and harming communities. First, the environment. The Daily Journal on April 23, 2022 reported that clothing production doubled since the 2000s, consuming 79 billion cubic meters of water annually and generating emissions equal to those in UK, France, and Germany combined. Second, the human cost. On April 24th of 2018, the Daily Record recalled that Rana Plaza factory in Bangladesh killed 1.1k workers. Survivors remain uncompensated, and millions of workers continued to labor in unsafe conditions and in poverty wages. Finally, waste. The Independent reporter on December 1st, 2006, the average UK consumer discards 30 kg of clothing per year into landfills, much of it's cheap, short-lived garments. And if these are the problems, the next step is to understand why this happens in the first place. The causes that fast fashion creates can be grouped into three major drivers: consumer culture, shaped by society, and microtrends, business models built on speed and disposability, and cheap labor, global inequality between production and consumption. First, consumer culture. As the New York Times in December 24th, 2019 explained, Instagram and social media platforms have intensified microtrends, pushing people to buy new clothes every few weeks just to keep up. Second, business models. The Eye London article that I've mentioned earlier reported that the average US consumer now buys new items of clothing every 5.5 days, fueling the system that clothes are designed to be disposable. Third, inequality. Anne Brown in the Daily Record of April 24th, 2018 pointed out that Western consumers enjoy cheap prices. Workers in Bangladesh and other nations pay with their lives and health, a stark reminder of who bears the burden. Understanding the causes allows us to see a better path forward. So what are the possible solutions and what can be done? Solutions emerge at three levels: government regulations to hold industries accountable, industry initiatives to create sustainable and transparent supply chains, and consumer actions to change buying and usage habits. First, governments. The Irish Times in December 26th of 2024 reported that the EU will require separate textile waste collections by 2025 and ban exporting unsorted textiles by 2026. By 2030, all clothes in the EU must be durable, repairable, and recyclable. Similarly, in California's 2024 Responsible Textile Recovery Act mandates manufacturers fund recycling and reuse. Second, industry leadership. In Australia, Australian Financial Review of May 6, 2025 described efforts to reshore fashion manufacturing, reducing reliance on Shein and Temu, protecting jobs, and creating transparent on-demand supply chains. Patagonia, highlighted by the Irish Times, has already shifted to a steward ownership model, reinvesting profits into protecting the planet while offering repairs and reuse programs. Finally, as a consumer, in the New York Times of 2019, December 24th, highlighted, consumers now have more tools than ever to buy secondhand repair clothing and support ethical brands. Grassroots organizations and social enterprises across Europe are leading the way with upcycling swaps and resale platforms that give clothes a second chance at life. With all these solutions, change is possible, but it depends on our choices, both collective and personal. When I look back at that $5 shirt, that one that shrank and fell apart after a single wash, I no longer see a bargain. I see farmers whose water was drained to grow the cotton, and garment workers paid pennies to stitch together in unsafe conditions. That shirt was never truly cheap. Its hidden costs were simply passed onto the environment and vulnerable people who can't afford to carry them. The truth is, every purchase we make is a choice, either to fuel destructive systems or to help it slow down. If the government continues to regulate, if companies take responsibility, and if we as consumers demand better, then maybe one day $5 shirts will cost only $5 for everyone. Until then, we need to remember that our closets are full of stories, and it's up to us to decide what kind of story we want to tell them. Thank you.